Welcome, athletes, into the gym closet for another awesome episode. I am Tyler Robinson. You joined us last week. You saw why that's funny. But
and if you didn't, then you should go watch it because it'd be really funny if you did.
Here, as always, with Amber, Zach,
what up?
And Dan. What's up, guys?
Not much. Up? It's weird. Like, we just came into this today just not even, like, talking about anything.
No,
so I'm kind of interested.
We sat down here like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, we all just scrambled in here like 2 minutes ago.
So it's going to be a real good one today.
Hopefully audio works. Got a new mic that we're testing out.
Yeah, see, Tyler got a new mic.
Well, if we're going to invest in multiple mics, or if we're going to invest in new mics, I have to make sure that one of them is worth it.
We already know. You don't give us a chance to talk over here.
That's true. That's exactly it.
I'm glad you do all the talking.
That's fine. But
I do like it.
Yeah.
It looks very sophisticated.
It looks cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Somebody goes, "Oh, you guys do a podcast? Like, you wear the big headphones?" And I'm like, "No, we're not that cool."
We should.
We should. Yeah, we need to have like a round table.
If we did,
what's the point of those? Like,
because then we can hear what is going through the mic. So if one of us like mic's down or one of us is like blaring, you can hear. It'd be like us conversing through the wires.
Wow.
Yeah, because like right now we just listen to each other and
hope that
hear each other, and then hope that the audio is being picked up correctly. And that's why we're testing this one mic out, because a lot of times that audio doesn't get picked up correctly. So the big difference is if you move your mics, or if like something taps it or whatever, you'll hear a bunch of rattling and stuff that I have to take a lot of time to edit out. And so I'm trying to invest in order to
the system.
Take time away from the editing and that kind of crap. So
back in the day, you used to edit a lot, right? Now we just kind of wing it.
Now we wing it a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Just fine.
Well, we weren't necessarily editing. I think that it was more of like, we don't know. Yeah. But now we just bullshit more, and we don't really care about any dead air. So, but yeah, if this is your first time joining us, welcome to the team. We are a podcast that talks about living life like an athlete and optimizing life and in success. And what I want to talk about today is the word microcosm is one that I looked up to make sure I was using it correctly. But I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But we we talk about living like an athlete inside of the gym, outside of the gym, and that's kind of what I'll touch on today with that word. And it's, the word will tell it all. But if you haven't yet, subscribe. I would love to do this live at some point, but we have to have a lot more subscribers. So like it. Hit the like button, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button. That way you'll get our newest episodes when they drop. And eventually, if we get enough people, we can go live, and YouTube won't. YouTube just doesn't let us go live without enough followers, which is probably smart.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
We used to do Facebook Live.
We did. And
I was just thinking about that. I'm like, maybe I should put it on.
We used to do Facebook Live. We used to do, but then like the thing that sucks is like, YouTube Live, we could hook up to like all of our audio and stuff.
Oh.
The Facebook Live
the camera, right?
is just off of the camera, and the audio from the camera kind of sucks, which we should figure out a way to do all that. But in good time, we'll talk about that. But we talk about optimizing gym life and bringing it to your real life, living life like an athlete inside and outside of the gym. So, anybody bring any segments today or not?
I did. I brought a myth.
I brought my craving.
We all brought
so I'd say that's a pretty good thing.
Well, you said you didn't like cravings last time, so I wonder if
maybe Amber needs a different
segment. And then what we should do is we should all just bring segments, and if we talk about them, great. If not, we save them for the next week. But then have it be like a couple segments where we can like dive deeper in it, and then if it goes fast. Then this is talking baseball. But if it goes long, we can talk about it only a couple segments. But if it goes quick, then we only have we have all 4 segments go prepared.
That sounds good to me.
You know what I mean? But that means we have to prepare our own segment. So you said you have one?
I have the craving.
Whatever happened
awesome.
to Gal Gab? Whatever happened to or Gathlete's Corner?
Right?
You guys didn't even like it. I just want to talk.
That's not true. We all like.
I wanted to talk about The Bachelor or Bachelorette every week, and you guys just weren't having it.
What doesn't have to necessarily be The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
Oh my goodness!
I remember
See,
that.
Dan wishes he was there at that time. We would still be going. No,
We
I haven't
tried it,
watched that.
I used to be invested in it.
Me too.
Like,
Hardcore.
and now I'm just like,
The last 4 seasons I probably haven't watched. I don't know. I haven't gotten into it.
they used to do a fantasy league with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
A lot of
really?
people did.
Yeah.
That is
You were that.
hilarious.
You could have
So-
participated a lot better.
Yeah, you wouldn't even
segment-
go to this segment
Yeah,
then. Yeah, better than us.
So like, and that was when Lydia and I first started dating, and I would watch it, and it was right when they came out with the fantasy league, and so we would like have like these big brackets and tournaments and all that kind of stuff, and we're invested.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh! And you could score points like, oh, is somebody gonna get a hot tub, or like, is somebody go on a helicopter ride or something like
Yep.
that? So you would sit there and just watch and like get in the hot tub, or like go on a date. It was crazy. Looking
That
back
is
at it,
awesome.
like, why did I do that? But
No, like everybody did. I
awesome,
feel
though.
like a lot of people did.
Can you bet? Could you bet on it?
no, it was just like,
I guess that might have been before like betting was legal everywhere
It
too.
was
Well,
just like
Smash
if
Park-
we got in like in a league. It was from like ABC or something like that.
Really?
Like the
Yeah,
TV
they had printable
channel.
brackets on there.
Oh, really?
On abc.com. I think you could like print off a
Oh,
bracket. They made it
yeah.
like made printable brackets. And then Smash Park always did something
That's
on like
awesome.
Monday nights where they would have everybody in and turn the TVs onto it and have like their own type of thing too. So
so crazy.
see, so we could bring that back.
Okay, but you said you had a craving for today?
Yes. So remember last week we talked about ice cream,
Okay, we did.
or
yeah.
2 weeks ago. So favorite ice cream shop, favorite type of ice cream. So Lydia said home sweet cone, and she likes the oatmeal cream pie. Maybe it was,
That sounds delicious.
but I've never seen that one on there because they cycle through the flavors. I
Oh,
think
sure.
the
Yeah.
oatmeal cream pie from that, but that place is good.
You
place
got
is really
me.
I remember when you went the first time. Didn't you get like some cookie with like
Me?
ice cream in the
Zach?
middle?
Yeah. So, so they have like an ice cream sandwich type thing that you can make there, and like I'm all about a good deal. So like the ice cream sandwich is only like 50 cents more than like a single scoop of ice cream. So I'm like, I could go for an ice cream
it's a
sandwich.
50-cent cookie.
Yeah. Well,
Or
but
2
then
cookies.
It's not only that, they have cookies and they have brownies, or you can do one
That's
of
right.
each.
You got something.
So
for
I
us.
got an ice cream sandwich. It was like the bottom of it was a brownie, and like the brownie, for those of you guys watching on YouTube, is like as big as my face. Like it was a massive
That's
brownie.
crazy.
So it's like a brownie, and then I got like cookies and cream ice cream in the middle, and then like a chocolate chip cookie on top.
Yum.
And it was so good.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But it was so.
You got me that for my birthday, right? Mm-hmm. That was from there.
Black Cat. I want to try that one out.
Yeah.
Waukee Ice Cream Shop too. That place is pretty cute. That's where we went after Pierce's
Oh yeah.
preschool
Downtown-
party.
downtown
Yeah, that's
Waukee.
cute. Yeah, good little area. Have you guys been there? Waukee
Yeah.
Ice Cream Shop.
I haven't.
Yeah,
No, not
that's
yet.
good.
I have. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool
Yep.
area.
Those were the top 3. I think there was one more in Adele, but we never go to Adele.
So maybe
Chili Billy's.
what's Chili Billy's?
Don't know.
I've heard of
It's
it,
in
but I've
Adele.
never been there.
That's
Yeah, I don't
interesting.
know.
We should actually do a craving, but turn that segment into Is It Worth My Macros, and actually film that
On location.
at some point.
Yeah.
On location would be hard, but if we take it here, bring it to
go and just
this,
bring it in here?
and then we sample stuff and talk about the macros and stuff, but then it takes away kind of from the point of the show when we're just talking about desserts every time
Yeah.
for craving.
Mm-hmm.
But if we know what the macros are for those different ice creams, and we're trying them and
I don't want to
seeing
know
how-
those things.
Why?
I don't, because
for that type of
doomed.
dessert,
That
because that's
probably
a
is like
that's a
500 calories.
so that's to use just kind of a skip. I'm not counting this.
Yep.
To, like tonight, you know what I mean? Like we're celebrating tonight, so we're not counting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that's fine too.
How many calories do you think is in? How many grams of carbs do you think
A
were in
bunch.
your sandwich? that you
100
had?
per.
In my ice cream sandwich?
Probably
Oh,
150.
over. I bet 100. I bet like 150 or something.
I would say there's probably 100 per scoop of that ice cream.
Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
'Cause it was a scoop of, well, it was like a massive scoop of cookies and cream ice cream, a huge brownie, I mean, I bet we're easily 150 carbs and probably
50 fat,
50,
at least.
60
50,
grams
yeah.
of fat maybe.
Yeah.
But probably like 70, 80 grams of protein. You know.
So, question though. Okay, so you get a macro. So the macro is an energy unit, right? So you get macros, or you get calories. Calorie is a measurement of energy, right? So did you guys ever do chemistry class in college?
Yeah.
Did
Yes,
you
not
ever
well,
do
but
the
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Did you ever do the experiment where you burned food to see how many and calculate out the calories
No.
depending on? Okay, so this was one of the coolest things that I remember we did. You would, and you probably did it as well. You just don't remember. But you would basically burn with flame a carrot, right? And that carrot then, depending on how much time it took to completely turn to ash, there's the equation then that gets how many calories are in that piece of food. So that's ultimately how you would find out all of that kind of stuff, right? So it's always been interesting to me every single time, because we did it with like a cracker, the difference between like a Ritz cracker, what's the curved ones? I cannot think of
Pringles?
Pringles, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So like the difference between like a Pringles and then that, and then you would see that, the Pringles has twice as many calories. I don't think at the time you were differentiating between carbs, fats, and proteins, but you could count calories because of this time sequence and all this kind of stuff, which was a cool experiment in my mind, knowing that I was coming from like wanting to go into the nutrition space.
I think I'd remember something like that.
So maybe you didn't do it.
Maybe you
then.
did it in high school.
No, it was in college. It was because it was one of my night classes where we had like the.
I probably skipped.
That's probably true. You probably skipped that day, or you probably just went
I
there.
probably had volleyball practice.
You probably went there, burned shit, and then was like just copying off of someone else's.
You were
because
just like so excited to be like burning shit.
Yeah, you were just like, okay, I'm gonna pretend to do this experiment,
lighting
burn
it on
this,
fire.
and then go ahead and fill out my.
As I get older, there's things I realize I would have tried harder at, and that school was definitely one of them.
But it was like, that one was cool to me. I don't remember any other experiments in chem class because
Well, it's
that was
always
the
what
only
you're
one that I
interested
gave
in.
a shit
Right,
about because
right.
it had to do
That's
with
pretty
food.
cool,
I knew- yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So, but I always wonder, how could you do that experiment? Like, obviously, you have to burn ice cream. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like,
That'd be hard.
But then how do you
But-
like, where do you get to that point? When you burn, like if you burn just like regular sugar and it starts like boils
Right,
up and
yeah.
turns to syrup
Yeah.
and shit, like that would be interesting to see all
That
of
would
that
be,
food.
yeah.
But that's how
We
ultimately
should
they,
do
they
it. We should
break
get
down.
some ice cream. We should light
Just
it on fire
burn
in
it.
here.
But that's the funny thing is it wouldn't light on fire. You'd have to have it like a heat unit.
Right, you'd have to, like-
have it in a. I'm not great at chem. In a what were those called? Vials. Breaking Bad style.
Like a Bunsen burner?
Yeah, but what's the glass things you put on top of it?
Fuck, I don't know.
See, if we had a chat going with live
Someone
YouTube,
could tell us.
we could
Someone
tell
would
us.
be like, oh,
yeah. But it's a beaker.
A beaker.
Beaker.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So you could have a
Beaker.
beaker with the stuff in it. That's then how you would, because it's obviously going to melt, not
Right.
light on
Right.
fire with an actual
Right.
flame. Anyway, yeah. So hopefully we can turn that into an entirely different show from that segment where we can give more information to the audience versus just saying, yeah, that's a good ice cream place. You know what I mean? Like that's the my goal with that. And so I say this all to hopefully hold us accountable and do that at some point. So maybe next week.
Maybe
if
next week we start with like Starbucks coffees.
We could do that. But we could also do, like, what I want to start with
Frappuccino.
is,
We'll break down frappuccinos.
yeah, we could do that pretty
And
easily.
like mine, like my healthy go-to drink.
Like what you like for,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do
We'll
that
start
next
small.
week.
Like we won't
Let's-
start with like a big meal here. Like,
Okay,
let's
I
start
like
with
it.
like drinks.
I
or
like it because
something.
then we can just all sit here without a table with just sipping on drinks. But then we have to have like, everybody has their own little
Right.
drinks. So yeah, let's do that next week.
Then you guys give me orders on what you want. I'll get you what you want.
Or like
Frappuccino.
what?
And then we'll just break it down and be like, holy shit, Zach's
We
has
can be like, oh my God,
1,000.
Zach's has a shitload of
Yeah.
calories.
You are drinking
I
1,000
actually can't
calories.
wait to see that. Oh
I
my
can't wait to
gosh.
see.
Yeah, so tune in.
I already know what it is. I already know
So
what calories
that
it
will
is.
be a completely separate segment where we are going to do that next week, and we are going to start the Is It Worth My Macros with Starbucks next week. We're going to film it next week, so I don't know if it'll be edited and released by next week, but we will get it. So I like that idea because then we don't have to put much preparing like the meal
Right.
and
And then we'll
like
get
that.
better and better at it.
Cool. All right, so we're starting with Starbucks because I'm sure that's your gal talk is all about Starbucks.
Pumpkin spice latte.
Oh yeah, and
Oh,
it just
yeah.
came out, so that'd be a good one to talk about too.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then yeah, perfect. Okay, so we'll do that, and then let's get into our next segment here though. Zach, you got a myth for us
I
today?
sure do.
All right, let's
Yep.
hear it.
Artificial sweeteners.
Ooh, I love it.
I know. Yeah, I figured you would. So a lot of people, I think, like one of the things that everybody always hears, like I heard all the time, growing up at least, is that diet pop is even worse for you than regular pop, and that's kind of always the myth that goes around. And before I get into the myth, too, by the way, did you know that there's a difference between diet pop and zero sugar pop?
Depending on what artificial sweetener isn't
Right.
it, or 0-calorie sweetener
Right.
isn't it? Yeah.
Because
And-
I was wondering, because I'm like, why would they name it different? Or
Right.
you know what I
'Cause
mean?
you always see like there's Diet Coke and there's Coke Zero Sugar, Coke Zero,
right.
or whatever. And basically, what the
But-
difference is that there's just different 0-calorie sweeteners in each of them.
And I
think-
do like the zero better. I think it
I do
tastes
too.
better
It tastes
than the...
closer to the regular stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
But that's so interesting because it doesn't necessarily have to be the same for like Pepsi Zero sugar is not necessarily the same artificial sweetener as
Right.
like Coke Zero. So
Right.
it's just each one of them tastes a little bit different.
Right.
And so every company can use whatever name they want to call
Right.
it, but they are internally differentiating their sweeteners basically,
Right.
right? Yeah. Okay.
Right. So artificial sweeteners, and I believe the big one that most people usually use, I think, is aspartame. That's kind of the popular one that everybody likes to demonize. So basically, where this all started was, I don't know how, it was years ago. They came out with this study where they basically gave rodents just an insane amount of aspartame and different artificial sweeteners, and it wasn't good for them. They died. Basically, is what
They
it
actually
ended up-
get like tumor cancer cells.
Yeah.
Developed. Yeah.
So basically, people take that study and turn it into, artificial sweeteners cause cancer, artificial sweeteners will kill you, all this stuff. When really, and again, this is something I think that everybody, and I mean, not everybody's a super sciencey person and is going to want to go on PubMed and read a bunch of in-depth research articles. But one thing I think people have to understand is that just because it's a research study doesn't necessarily make it super legit and applicable to a real life situation, right? So like that study is basically showing, what that proves is that if you give a mouse 10,000 times as much aspartame as they should be having, bad things happen to it, right? That's what that study proves. Not super applicable to humans or really anything in the real world. So,
Yeah.
so people kind of end up referencing that study, saying the artificial sweeteners are bad, all this stuff. There's been countless studies since then of, a more applicable version of it, basically
Human
giving
studies as well.
humans regular pop, diet pop, zero sugar, whatever you want to call it. And basically every time the people in the group that drink diet pop lose more weight compared to people that are in the regular pop group, basically. So that's probably the biggest, regular soda versus diet soda is, I think, the biggest argument people always have when it comes to artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners are in countless other things too.
Yeah.
But I would say that like the regular pop versus diet pop is always the big argument that I always see going on.
And I think the Great myth, by the way. But I think that the bottom line is poison is in the dosage, right? So
Right.
no matter what, right? So if on that same study, people have done. I think I can't remember if it was Lane or Lane Norton had quoted this or something, but basically doing the numbers and equating it to humans. So the weight difference between a mouse and a human,
yeah.
and then also doing the numbers of aspartame in a soda versus, which is the dose that you would be getting. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, had done the equation, and you would sooner. It was something just astronomical. In order to get the amount of aspartame, you would have to drink something like, I don't even know, 20,000 liters of soda
something
a day
right.
for like
a long
6 weeks.
period,
And so in that. The dosage is the poison depends on the dosage. So in that, you would actually create poison out of the liquid, and you would drown yourself in lack of electrolytes if you drank that much
Right.
before you had any effect of cancer from aspartame. And so looking at those studies, a lot of people will pull those studies and cherry pick different things, but the thing that you have to just remember is it depends on with everything. I think is the dose is what makes it either poison or the other example I like to use is in apples. So you have cyanide. Is that right?
There's cyanide in apples, yeah.
So there's cyanide in apple seeds, but it's at such a small, so you shouldn't eat apples? No, it's at such a small dosage that you would have to eat 1,000 apples a day for however long to accumulate enough cyanide from apples to actually harm you, right?
Right.
So it would be the same. It would be a very similar argument saying that you should never eat apples because there's such a small finite amount of this quote unquote poison. I can't remember what it is. There's letters, but I need to look this up because I feel like I bring it up all the time. But there is a 50 LDL or LDR or something like that. I'll have to look it up. That pertains to poison, and when it comes to poison, it's talking about how much poison, the dose of poison that would kill like 50% of humans that ingested that amount of that poison, right? So like even water, I think it's LDR or LDL 50. Water has an LDL 50 because you can basically drown yourself and eliminate enough electrolytes into your body that you would die from overhydration, which is crazy. And so with that, what is it?
Sorry, I searched LDL and it says LDL 50, a toilet paper holder.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was looking. No, look for poison number or whatever when it comes to that. But yeah,
But it's the same thing with you can eat too many vitamins and minerals and die from overeating a certain vitamin or a certain mineral.
Or
LD. Lethal dose, the LD.
Yeah,
50?
lethal dose. There we go. Lethal dose. LD.
Just making it more
LD
complicated.
50. Yeah, I was just adding a letter to make it a toilet sponge, toilet holder. But yeah, LD 50 is what you have to look at when you look at poison. So like the LD 50 of cyanide is very, very small. It would take a small amount to kill a lot of people, or to kill half of the people that would ingest it. Water has an LD 50. It's very, very high. You have to drink a ton of water for half of the people to get that amount. And so those are the things that I think we talk about all the time is within, the research still being, if you think about being as like looking at the science, the research is still out on, there's still research to be done on artificial sweeteners or 0-calorie sweeteners, right? So it's not like I would feel comfortable saying this is 100% safe. You can eat this every single day at high amounts. You know what I mean? So what I would recommend, and what I recommend for anybody that is like consuming a lot of diet pops or consuming a lot of these 0-calorie sweeteners, is just there's like 10 of them. Go back and forth between different ones, because there's still research being done on toxicity of, does this stay in your system longer than X, Y, and Z? And so the myth of they're going to cause you cancer in the low amounts that you ingest them is probably debunked, right? But there's still research being done on if you overconsume for a long period of time, does it get toxic at some point, right? And that information is still out there. So what I recommend, I definitely recommend low calorie or calorie free sweeteners versus a high calorie sweetener, because there's very known problems with obesity and the negative effects on your health of holding excess body fat. And high calorie sweeteners are going to be a dense way to potentially, if you're not tracking your macros, they're going to be an easy way to overeat and eat too many calories. You get fatter. That we know that there's problems there. So if you're not tracking anything and you're eating a lot of sweeteners, then that becomes an issue. But if you're tracking your numbers and you eat sugar or whatever sweetener that you would have, if you with all macros equated, there's no difference as far as body composition. And so if you're counting, great. And that's what we do when we work with our athletes is, if you decide that you want a full Coke or a full Coke diesel, as I like to call it, but if you want a full Coke, you can have a full Coke, but just know that 47 grams of carbohydrates is coming out of your 250 grams of carbohydrates that you have for that entire day. So do you want to drink it knowing that that's not going to fill you up at all? In my opinion, that's not a great idea, because I can get 0 calories from a diet soda and not count it towards any of my macronutrients, get the same effect in my mind, and very similar tastes. And
it's crazy how some
there.
people just they hate the taste of like a sweetener. Like they can.
It's
totally
so funny.
Tell. It's like cilantro, right? It's like.
Yeah, but it's.
I feel like nobody's. Like,
I
ever
used to be that way. I could, when I was growing up, we never drank soda, but I could taste the difference like really bad to a diet soda. Granted, diet sodas back then were not as good as they are now, but like back then, Diet Coke was not great. And so like, don't forget your keys. You're not going to get very far. So I mean that's a huge difference. But like now I don't drink any like full calorie sodas. So now when I'm drink, like if I would accident, like somebody gives me from a restaurant or something a full calorie Coke or whatever, I can taste it. It's like syrup immediately. I can taste the difference.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I are you sure that this is diet? They're like, oh yeah, shit. How could you tell? I was like, well, yeah, I only drink diet soda now. Yeah. And so it is.
I can usually tell a difference between like if I was to like get the same brand and I got a diet and a 0 sugar, I can usually tell a difference in between the two, between the
sweeteners. Yeah. No, I would agree with that too. And there's diet sodas or there's 0 calorie sodas that I prefer. I can taste a stevia that's a 0 calorie versus, and a lot of supplements will play with a lot of the calorie free sweeteners as far as their flavoring goes. And so I can tell a lot of the natural ones, versus the artificial, the artificial ones, and be able to tell the difference. Stevia has a pretty distinct taste that I can kind of pick out. But yeah, once you drink them, regardless, it's much better than drinking 50 grams of sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I hate to drink any of my calories unless it's gonna get me drunk. In that case, I will throw down some beers and not worry about the calorie content. But even then, if you could get drunk calorie free, I would definitely do that.
That's fair, yeah.
Before, right? And so that kind of that's kind of ends that segment, I guess. But yeah, that's a good myth to talk about. And it's one of those that in the media or just like in general, it kind of just ebbs and flows.
It does, yeah. You hear about it a lot, and then you don't hear about it.
Everyone will always point back to the same study.
Yeah.
And then the information will get debunked again, and then you'll stop hearing about it because people, realize that it's not a fact, like it's not a study that is applicable to humans in how we consume those. But then it'll come back up.
Yeah.
Again, someone will try to sell something to us that is that will solve all your problems, and they'll bring that up as one of the problems.
Well, right, because they have a secret that nobody else knows.
Right. Yeah.
Well, then like on the flip side of that too, it's like people are gonna be like, oh, well, I found this that says it's okay, but like with research studies, some places like companies will pay researchers to do it and say it's good.
Yeah.
Right.
So then you have to look at who's sponsoring the research.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy is the general population is not going to sit and analyze, and the general population, most of them are not even qualified to sit and analyze. Like I had 2 or 3 courses during my master's that literally just looked at research papers and talked about how do you analyze this research? How do you know if it's a good research or a bad research? And in peer-reviewed research, there's so many, there's so much out there that you can get an article or something, published that's not super accurate. And if you're doing an experiment, the experiment doesn't have to be super great either. So you have to analyze like, okay, is this experiment actually telling you
something useful?
Right.
Yeah. Like, cause like just to use the same study for an example, like what honestly does that tell anybody?
Right.
That, if you can feed a mouse a ridiculous amount of sweetener that no one's ever going to consume, like, it's not even physically possible to consume that much.
Right.
Like,
and that's the thing is, if it is a mechanism in a research study that is giving you that much, that's like the only way that if you filled up a syringe with aspartame,
and you're just
you could then get to that point.
Right.
But even then, is that applicable to real life?
Right.
And so those are all different things that you have to think about, and the controlled studies that are done, like Dan had mentioned too, they can be bought by certain industries or certain people. But the other thing is too, research needs funding, and so regardless of who is paying for it, that can be a downside sometimes. But also you have to take that with a grain of salt too, because if the study and the research and all of this stuff that's published and the researcher is a qualified researcher and you trust who is doing the research, you would hope that a scientist isn't going to completely flub or misrepresent the facts in their study. But that happens too. So it sucks because a lot of times when you look at peer reviewed, it's just hard to tell, but again, those are things that governing bodies will continue to help us with, hopefully. And we'll just, unfortunately, if you're not going to dive into every single article, every single fact about certain things, you're going to have to trust someone somewhere. You're going to either have to trust us because we've done some research on like the nutrition side or the exercise side, or you're going to have to trust your government because they are telling you certain information. We just went through a pandemic. How much scientifically did we get wrong throughout that process? And I think that we have to, if you're looking at the scientific method, you have to understand that you're going to do things wrong. So if you're live time looking at people doing science, you're going to be like, oh, well, you got that wrong. We don't trust you anymore. When in reality, you have to do an experiment to know if you get it wrong. So if you're watching live time, it's unfortunately, it's tough. But that's the same. Science is I saw something the other day that was like, there's new science and there's old science. And there was this person selling their product or whatever, and they had this I can't even remember what it was, but the premise was that stuff that you heard before, that's old science. This is the new science, which is completely bullshit because there's no difference in science is science, right?
Yeah.
And science is always learning new things and testing hypothesis and seeing over time, does this change? Because we might not have any effects in a year, but in 5 years, we might have a shitload of effects. So now when we say that there's effects after 5 years, does that mean that the science of no effects after a year, is that wrong science? No, but you just continue to learn more information. And so I think as we continue to dive into it, you have to find somebody that you trust, a coach or someone that's going to give you good, up-to-date information, because we're going to continue to learn. All three of us are going to continue to learn so that we can feed this channel more information that is pertinent to what we know today, and try to decipher the science and decipher what we need to know in order to make the best decisions today. You know what I mean? So it's super interesting when you look at all of that bullshit, that you have to go through.
And I think the thing too, you have to be open-minded about changes to things that we learn through science and through experiments over and over. Because I mean, like there's things that as you continue to learn, just so like say you're super strong and super one side of an argument, and then over and over and over again, research and experiments get done that are continually showing that other side. You have to be willing to accept that if you're going to be a good or whatever it is that you're doing that it's applicable to.
The problem, I think, that you either get your lifestyle parked behind this certain product, or your life depends on something being a certain way. So now you're almost fighting for it to be a certain way. That happens a lot. But then also people for some reason decide that their personality revolves around their diet, or their person, like who I am as a person is really dependent on an all meat diet. You know what I mean? So then I say in everything I do, an all meat diet can solve your headaches and can solve inflammation and can do all of this stuff for you. And even though science and it does this all the time, every time, right? And so I think that any time that you're talking to someone, you can kind of tell by definitive statements. If anybody is like, this is the way that it is every single time, no matter what, and it will be forever, like that's very hard to take them seriously as a scientist, because it's like most of what we know today could change with further research in almost every area.
Right.
And so like there's obviously fundamentals, like math is math and gravity is gravity and shit like that, right? So there's fundamental tools, but what's best, especially in the human body, is so hard to just nail down definitively, because we know less about our bodies than like the fucking ocean and space and stuff like that, which is insane to me that we haven't figured everything out.
There's how many, probably trillions of dollars worth of research about human performance and weight loss and all this stuff to do with our health and our bodies, and there's still tons we don't know. But
I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of that has to do with what I call always the human element of like, I know that that's what I need to do. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, we could, if we were all robots, we could all dial in our macros exactly what we need. We could all feed, eat exactly that. We could all do the exact prescribed, perfect, optimal amount of exercise every single day. And we could get the optimal amount of sleep every single day. And we could do all that shit. But there's a human element to where a lot of that shit doesn't get done. And that's why having a coach that can steer you in a direction of, oh, I didn't do this, and this week because I'm a human being. Then the coach can say, oh, okay, make an adjustment here, and here to help optimize what you did. And let's look into why you weren't able to get that done this week and whatever it might be. That's a huge part of the benefit of having a coach, especially in the nutrition and exercise space, right? And not even that, but like I think we help with recommendations on sleep and just human optimization when it comes to physically being in a better spot, So did you have anything that you wanted to bring?
Yeah, and it actually kind of pertains to what we are doing.
Nice.
And it says, what is the best food before an exercise? How long before you should eat it? And the amount and quality of food.
Okay. I get that question a lot. Like, is there the best pre-workout meal that I could have in order to, optimize my workout? And I think there is, things that would help optimize a workout. But again, I think the bottom line of that question to answer it is different for everyone because if I could eat, so for example, I eat in the morning when I wake up a dozen egg whites this morning, and then I went in and I worked out probably within a half hour to an hour. Now, a lot of people, if doing that same exact situation, would feel a gut ache and shit, like that much volume of eggs sitting in your stomach. Good. You would not feel good, right? So a lot of people just, drink a shake or have a bar or whatever. I think the best guidance as a blanket statement is just making sure that you have the energy in your body that you need. Right. So if you're coming off of, if you work out in the morning, you want to make sure that you break your fast, you have that energy in your body so that you have something to start feeding from if your workout gets longer. And then, if you're working out at night, making sure that you're comfortable. You probably have eaten throughout the day, but now if you're comfortable, now, you might be comfortable. Some people might be comfortable eating a good meal an hour after, some a half hour, some 20 minutes, but making sure that you have an adequate amount of carbohydrates in your body already. And if you don't, waking up in the morning fasting, then you need to probably eat some. Or like for me, I typically don't eat carbs for breakfast. And that's just a choice because I enjoy pushing them back to the evening and eating more carbs at night. So like for me, I eat more carbs at night. That fast, that's still in my body, being digested throughout the night. So like that amount of carbohydrates, while there's less, because I'm still using some of that carbs to breathe and to be alive while I sleep. So there's less than say if I would work out an hour after I ate all of those carbs. So I sleep, I wake up, those carbs are still in my body fueling that workout, and in my muscles fueling that workout. But some people might maybe they don't eat as late at night as I do. They would probably need to get some carbohydrates in their body before their workout. But what do you guys typically do before your workouts?
Well, it kind of depends for me on if I'm working out in the morning or in the afternoon, like you said. So typically, I just do a protein shake for breakfast basically every day. It's kind of just what I do. Just grab it and go. If I'm going to go in and work out in the morning, I'll usually have like a bowl of cereal with it, just, to get 30 carbs or so in.
Sure.
If I'm going to work out in the afternoon, I typically don't worry quite much about it just because, like you said, you've eaten. Usually if I'm doing it in the afternoon, it's probably about like 3 o'clock. So I've had breakfast, I've had lunch, probably at like 11 or noon. So I've eaten, I've had 3 or 4 hours to digest, and now I'm feeling good. Because I'm one, I don't like to work out like on a full stomach.
Sure.
I definitely would rather be hungrier on an empty stomach when I work out.
Right. Dan,
if I ate 12 egg whites, I would feel like shit when I worked out.
Right. Yeah.
I pretty much have the same breakfast, whether before I work out or after I work out. It's usually like an egg with egg whites, some like breakfast sausage, and like an English muffin or something like that.
Sure.
Whether it's, like I said, before or after. But then the workout in the afternoon, I will save my quote unquote like lunch until after my workout. Because like I've eaten my breakfast, I've had a morning snack, I've had like my water, I've had all that kind of stuff. So all that stuff, like we've been saying, fuels my workout.
Right.
And then I use all of that during my workout, and then I refuel after, and then I wait, 3-4 hours until dinner, and then that part kind of fuels my workout for the next morning, like what you were talking about.
Sure.
So
yeah.
Kind of a regular morning routine, but yeah, later in the day is kind of where it gets worse.
And I think, again, it goes down, I mean, and that's a great point. It goes down to the human element, because there's an optimal way to do it. And I did this research for a paper a while back and I have it, and I should show you guys, because it's very, very technical as far as at what time do you see the best. So there's an optimal answer. Like if you can make sure that you have X amount of glycogen in your body at X amount of time, and all of this kind of stuff with glucosamine glutamine, and how much protein that you should have in there. And there's a lot of recommendations that will optimize a workout. And so I've done the research on that, and there's, again, we know so little about the human bodies, but with the research that we've known, I kind of developed if it was a perfect world, how much would you eat? But again, the problem would be then is, how do we know that your timing for all of this would be minutes off from my timing?
Right.
Because our digestion would be at a different pace, right? So all of it is very fluctuating no matter what, but it's interesting because there is a certain amount that you would like to have in your system to make sure that you're getting it. But yeah, I'll have to share that with you guys because I think that I can't remember what the studies were, but I'll revisit that and bring it up at another time too, because that's kind of cool when you talk about optimizing something. But then, yeah, the human element comes in for sure. And for me, like talking about, I guess the word of the week will be quick because it's very similar to what we're talking about. But I was talking to Dan earlier this week too, and last week or last episode, we had talked about this, about how the gym, and we talked about it in regards to service, how the gym is kind of like a reflection or a microcosm of like real life. And that's just been on my mind, like circling and circling. So I started thinking about like, okay, how many different instances, like service being one of them. Like if you're helping your neighbor at the gym, or you're being, respectful at the gym, you're most likely a respectful person outside of the gym, right? But then you boil it down to like, okay, that voice in your head, you're getting to, no one's watching you. You're at the gym by yourself, and you have 12 reps that you're supposed to get, right? That 10th rep is really, really hard. The 11th rep is really, really hard. And you could stop. No one in the world is going to know if you stop and hit 11, but are you the person that says like, fuck this, I'm going to hit this 12th rep and stick to my program? Or are you the person that's just like, yeah, fuck it, rack it? You know what I mean? And so like all of those things, I started thinking about like how that can reflect and be a microcosm of how you treat a different task in your life. Are you going to finish the reps when it comes to a project, or are you satisfied without, checking the spelling on whatever might go out? We had talked before, and I just thought about this, but like we talked about texting people, right?
Yeah.
And so when you text people, are you the person that is so fast and so busy that you're just rattling off a text and let it fly? I'm a little bit like that. Or are you the person that meticulously like goes through your text message and makes sure everything's correct and all that kind of stuff? That person is probably most likely going to worry about form, a very strict person on form, whether there's anybody watching or not, they're going to hit that rep with great form. Me, on the other hand, I will admit that I will let form slide to move the weight if I'm on that 12th rep. You know what I mean? Like if I don't know if I'm going to hit that 12th rep with perfect form, I'm going to throw that thing off my chest, or I'm going to do something. And that kind of reflects in my speed of text message, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's funny if you think about do you come late to the gym? Does that then reflect in your life of being places late? You know what I mean? Like if you're the person, and I would bet that this is true, that if you're the person that comes in 5-10 minutes late for every session that you come to, I could imagine that you are probably pulling up 5 minutes late to a meeting, 5 minutes late to this and to this. So then it's funny because like I've just been thinking about this, how we could analyze our gym habits and reflect that and as a microcosm of our real life. And again, this kind of all goes into why we do what we do, and living life like an athlete is so pertinent to this fact that if we have this this little microcosm that we can analyze, and we can find something about that is, are we inconsistent? Do we not show up for 2 weeks? You know what I mean? And then go back. What does that say about us? And can we also then look at like outside of the gym and be like, oh, that's very similar to how I act over here. And if I get better at the gym, I can practice this skill. In this little bubble of the gym, I can practice this skill, and every time I can think about this skill. And is that going to then directly affect my life outside of the gym? If I can find what is, you remember the old tests that we used to take that were like, this is to this as this is to this,
Oh, yeah.
those type of things, I really think that if we had the gym and work, and like reps in the gym is to X at work, like there's got to be a correlation there, right? And then I also started thinking like, okay, the facts that there are like 16% of the United States that actually go to the gym and take care of themselves physically, where does that reflect in like the amount of people, or the percentage of people that are like successful and driven to be the best that they can outside of the gym, at work, with their family, taking steps in the right direction with whatever you have going on? I wonder what percentage of people are, and it could be slightly varied, because that's like the 16% is the people that have a gym membership. So that's how that stat gets put out there. But I'm sure that there's people that don't have a gym membership that are very active working on a farm. You know what I mean? So like they're still getting shit done, and it's like that's their microcosm of things. So I just keep thinking about this and wanted to kind of just see where everybody is. And my challenge would be to analyze, if you do go to the gym, analyze who you are at the gym and see where that matches up in life and in other aspects of what you do outside of the gym. And it's so interesting to me because it matches up quite a bit to me. And that's, exactly what we do, is live like an athlete, train like an athlete in the gym, live like an athlete outside of the gym, because they correlate so much. So with that, do you guys have anything else?
No, that was super deep.
Yeah.
Deep, right?
Yeah, that was very deep.
I've been kind of getting deep with these thoughts the last couple weeks, but it's interesting because it's like, for me, it's like, why is the gym such an interesting place to me? And why do I feel like I can help so many people if we open up 1,000 gyms that all have this core thing in mind, right? Why does that's my mission statement, right? Is like, or Krave's mission statement is live like an athlete, train like an athlete, so that you can be successful in life. Those things, like, to me though, are like, okay, why does it feel like, because why, or even on a more surface level, why does you guys helping someone lose weight, why does that feel so good? You know what I mean? Because it's not just about losing a couple pounds, right? It's so much more than what the number on the scale says, right? It affects them everywhere in life. Someone's not excited about losing 20 pounds just because they lost 20 pounds, and they're only excited because in the gym they're less than 20 pounds, or they're 20 pounds less in the gym while training. You know what I mean? So like, it's so funny because the results reflect in real life. So like, to me, it's like, what else reflects exactly as it is in the gym? Because some people may not get any, they always get physical results. So I take that back. But some people may get far less physical results from going to the gym. But is that person still getting as much out of their gym membership and as much value in life being affected by them as the person that loses 100 pounds and now can walk up the stairs without being, without feeling exhausted, and do these things that, like, those are clear stories of like, yes, I did X in the gym, I lost 100 pounds, and this is directly affecting my life outside of the gym. But there's that's few and far between people that are losing 100 pounds, right? There's a lot of people don't have 100 pounds to lose. Right. And so what does that's been my kind of thought process is, okay, so let's identify what people do in the gym that directly affects their life outside of the gym, that has the same power as that 100 pounds, but they don't have 100 pounds to lose. So how does that affect them in real life? And I think that the answers are out there. And I think that if we continue to kind of think about it, and I'll find them, and we'll be able to report back and be like, oh yeah, I think about this. I'm the guy that, that will not quit on a rep, and I will, break my leg and fall, or I'll tear my pec trying to, you know what I mean? But does that reflect directly into like you, outside of the gym, that you will go hard to the point where you might hurt yourself? You will, go to the extreme outside of the gym. Like those are different things that I think just are like a piece of our personality that we can see inside that gym. And I think that will show us who we are outside of the gym, which is just super fascinating to me lately. Yeah, so
that's super deep.
So no, appreciate you guys for listening to that rant. But yeah, think about that. If you do identify something, let me know. And hopefully, if you are doing what you need to do inside of the gym and training yourself to do what you need to do, like inside of the gym, training yourself like an athlete, then you can live like an athlete outside of the gym. Because remember, you're an athlete. Live like it.
Born an athlete, you'll die an athlete. It's in your DNA.
You're an athlete. Live like an athlete so that you can be successful in life.
You're an athlete. Live like it.
ANA, America needs athletes.